Hello, welcome back. The Last Supper. Currently in this episode, I'm gonna keep it very brief, but I talk about TCG stuff and then some personal life stuff after the fact. What I'm noting now is that if you're really just into the TCG stuff, I'm gonna upload, not upload, but I did something after my personal stuff, like after I came back, and I talked about more of my card game and how to play it. I was debating whether or not to just keep it on threads, but then I'm thinking about the people or the audience are like, I don't want to go on a different platform to like watch whatever video you want. I'm already here. So I'm gonna put that in front of my personal thing, but in real life, when it happened, I talked about my TCG, then I went to my parents' place, which I'm right now, in this liminal box. And then after that, I went back to my apartment place and then played my TCG to do playtests. And I remember it was also raining a lot, so I couldn't do a lot of work during that time because of how crazy the weather was, and the internet stuff was for the Wi-Fi was pretty much down or flickering on and off. But yeah, I'm gonna note that. I'm gonna note Hurricane card game. Hurricane cards galore. Yeah. Okay. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't look at me. Lately, the feeling of gacha games has got into my brain. What? I don't play the gacha games, I design the gacha games. When I did my second version of my game, it was actually fun. I think the one drawback about it was I'm looking at the setup is there still. The one drawback is there are banner cards, which I love. I really love, and I love the incentive that you can always draw from them even when you're in active play. So it's sort of that weird little incentive when it comes to like gacha games where you have that transactional value of getting cards if you need it during that time or not. But I think the balance between really picking up the domain cards and the food cards are not prevalent over the idea of getting item cards and character cards initially. It's a very slow burner game at the moment, seeing that it takes 40 rounds, but also it's at the same time me making sure that each card is balanced in that same capacity. For example, Section A was on the left and Section B was on the right. Or 6-7, I'm kidding. Based off my view, but probably in the recording, it's like different in how it's mirrored. But essentially, Section A was like, okay, they went second. So in Section B, they went first. And they were stacked. They were a stacked group. It was Amala Paraquin, Mother Mallory, and some other character. I forgot. I wish I remember. I can remember from my image. And then I had like these other three cards, and then two of the cards immediately were taken out because Mother Mallory has the effect that you're able to disperse your amount of damage. What I mostly have the cards do when they attack is that they can only target one card, but you can use how many waifus or characters you can have in your set. So let's say after rolling your affinity and you can play the assortment of cards that you have. For example, let's say you roll a 5 and most of your cards are at like a 4 or below, or 5 or below. And then you probably have like one card that's like a 6. So you can't play that card. So you can play only the 2 cards. So out of those 2 cards, they can target one character. They can target 2 characters, but they can't really target 3 characters unless you have a character card in which allows you to disperse that amount of damage to those other characters. I think I'm going with this amount of logic that Magic and Gathering has from what I've seen people play as, where it's like you can read this mana stat, and You have to make sure that ++1 +-1 +1. But I want to minimize that. I want the aspect of the feeling of, okay, your last result is to go back to the gacha banners and to be like, okay, I need an item. How much cost do I have? And based on the banner residuals, which honestly is a really good mechanic too. I think I took most of my time trying to write down the numbers for the mana cost, and it was somewhat fairly simple to like keep track of. I think it was hard to keep track of because I was scribbling on paper of the amount of like mana each one had. So the basic thing is that when you have a mana type card, mana is a new thing I introduced into my version 2 of the game, which was actually solid. For example, Amala Paraquin. Mana Paraquin has 3 mana, depending on how I feel about the power level. That's how the scaling goes when it comes to mana. I don't think I have a card specifically that has 1 star, but I think 3 stars is enough. I think 4 or 5 stars would actually make the game feel rough. I think for roughly round 1 to 20, it felt very solid in where like you had a good start of the game where it felt like, okay, there's just like back and forth, but at the end you were losing mana as a course of the time, and it made sense because you're also losing cards in the banners because cards and banners were able to be discarded after. And then the only way to get those cards is to play domain cards. Domain cards have the chance for you to get back the discarded banner cards and make them active again as a result. One of the cards is like Cafe, and when you play that Cafe domain, Recreational Room. Recreational Room is idea for a club room. And when you have the domain card, it's able to have all the discarded item banner cards put back into the banner so you can buy again as the incentive of, okay, I need item cards now to like level the playing field. And then I didn't play my event cards, but I think event cards would honestly cut the gameplay in half, from 2 hours to probably an hour, and if not more, because they are the most like hard-hitting cards imaginable. There's one called the One for All arc, where essentially at that turn when the event card happens is that you have to pick one waifu or character, and the other opponent has to pick one waifu or character, and you have to just consistently play without one card until like it's over. So I think it just like incentivizes those types of moments, and I love the arc cards and the arc/event cards because they are sort of to mimic like, okay, I love like episodic journeys, and where like they shift the tide more so than domain cards. And how do you activate event cards is essentially from a death of a character card. So let's say against Amala Paraquin is Zoe Naomi, and Zoe Naomi somehow defeats Amala Paraquin. After the death of this card in the discard pile, you draw an event card. And I think the whole point of it is, really enough, I thought about Monopoly and how you can get like, oh, here's your community card when you land on a community thing. Or like, here's your bank card or something, and then you land on bank. Like those types of things where you're like, okay, so it only activates when a death card happens. You get an event card because that is a pivotal moment of the game. And then it's like, okay, this is what happens. It's almost like Jumanji, almost like when you move on a tile and then it draws the one card and then you can read it. It's like, now elephants happen roaming around and then things happen. So, which I don't think a lot of games do that. I think the one thing that my game lacks right now is that compares to the stereotypical like dating sim or gacha card mechanics is the visual flair aspect. I was watching a video just a few minutes ago about this, and it's like, gacha is not gambling. That's what the video said initially. I haven't finished it, but I was at that point of the video where it's like, gacha's not gambling. Even with the visual striking effects. And the visual striking effects is, I think, what is devalued in my card game. because obviously it's a card game. I can't really like pull out like a party popper and be like every time you draw a card, right? And also with the dating sim aspect, I think it's the narrative dialogue that I'm going to lose. What I'm honing on with the dating sim aspect is based off of the mana residuals, or the mana that happens at the start, at the end of your turn. When a character is prone, I really love this setup too, where you have an active and there's one specific card that can make like characters prone, which is Ariel Santos, because she's like a force user, so she's like so then it's like just knocks out prone, so you're unable to use this card until your next turn. And in the prone state, you're unable to use mana, so because they're just like unconscious, so they're not going to be active in like defense mode or whatnot. Defense mode, which is like this way. So you can go active mode, and then you can go defense mode, and then there's prone mode. And then out of prone mode, they come out of defense mode because they're just getting out, they're like, what's going on? And then they finally go into active mode, which is like, yeah! I don't know, I love it. Just like those mechanics. And I think also the hard part about it is the feeling of like making it cringe. I'm like, I just have to like absorb myself to be like, I like this. This is great. And think of like the positive aspects of the game design, where it's like, my whole goal is really to keep this powerful character, or like my OCs, alive so that I can survive and win with them. And I definitely feel the tribulations of like a lot of the time where it's like, oh no, you're like, when I roll like bad affinity, it's like, what are you doing? You're active, you're like allowed to like attack them. And I do love the aspect of that you can fail rolls, and it's very much random number generator from a D20. I love that aspect. I don't think I would ever really want to change it. I do like the attack ability and the defense ability. In defense mode, you can't attack unless I have a specific skill card, which would be kind of cool, just because they can. I have a card that has the ability, which is from Eleanor Augustus, who's able to pierce through defenses. So she doesn't have to innately roll a d20 in order to attack a defensive character type. And she's the only one who's able to do that. So if you have that player in your card and she's the one that's like gonna allow you to do that, then yes. But notably, when she's played with other cards, those two other cards or one other card is unable to pierce through that defense. They can only still roll with that initiative. So I want to make the skills unique, but not make them so confusing. See, with Amala Paraquin, she has the ability to take the base attack from cards that last exist in the discard pile of the character banner. So let's say that was what was discarded was Zoe Naomi, and her attack power base is 8. She can add that to her base power because she is someone who like speaks with the dead, is very anomaly like. So it makes sense for her character to be like, okay, she can draw from like other worldly sources. So it's like, and then she can attack with that base. So that means she's a very powerful character, and she's a very easygoing character because she has a low affinity and that her health is marginally okay. I think I have a system now as well when it comes to different types. Yeah, I'm just going to explain my things. So I'm going to pause this really quick. So the main thing is that there are 3 slots. I've dubbed 3 slots because I feel like when you have some majority of slots, it's kind of cool. And also when you have item cards and domain cards, that really changes the impact of the game. There's something called dungeon, where it's like, okay, if you have these types in your thing, then you have that modifier. It's just really good. And it expands on the idea of like Pokemon cards, right? And I think of, what is it? Not Dragonite. Is it Dragonite I'm thinking of? Like that type of thing, where it's like you have your water, and then it turns into a dragon. It's like, what? So this just expands on the idea of, that was just an example I was just thinking of you can have up to 3 traits, sort of like The Sims. Like The Sims have like these types of traits. And now I'm at the stage of there are points in the game where when all your cards are in defense and one's an attack, but is never able to get through the defense. So how can you go about that? Well, maybe I can make like red flag cards where when you have in play, you're able to penetrate from the defense in that capacity, because you're able to like insults almost. But I don't want it to promote the gameplay where it's like, haha, this card's terrible, this card's bad. But I do want the incentive of like drama. You know, like I think that will incentivize like drama with the card. So it's like, depending on how phased or unphased the card is, you can always play it and to see if it penetrates through the defense. If it does, then they return active immediately. So it's like shade or something, or like not like rap battle, but it's like you look ugly. That's a card. It's like red flag card. I don't know how the red flag card would look like, but it's like it will show like -1 affinity, and then it'll be like, okay, then you play that, and then that gets discarded. And do I want to make that a separate thing or not? I don't know. That would be like another banner. It would be called the red flag banner, in which you're able to have that option of gathering insults, and then if all of them are in defense, you have the ability to collect cards and draw cards to lower their defense stats. It's sort of like Pokemon. Okay, there you go. Sort of like Pokemon, where you can devalue a defense stat in real time, which is kind of interesting. I also like the ability that I max my hand to 5. I never really had more than 5 cards in my hand to even begin with. I think the drawing situation was if a character card was down, I would immediately try to buy another character banner, the character from the character banner. And from that, I would also get like an item from the item banner. And some case or another, like if I felt like the card was very necessary to keep alive, I would buy a food from the food banner in order to keep them alive. The thing is, with the food, you're able to make it as an extra buff to your HP. So when you take damage, when you're in defense mode or in attack mode, when the opponent attacks you, that damage can like also extend to that the extra card that you have, so it can be discarded later and it doesn't take away from your base damage. What do I mean by that? That was very complicated, but I was talking succinctly about it. Let's say for a Malaparaquin, she has a health of 12, right? And she has the attachment of like a ice cream, and it's +2 to their health. So that'll be 14 in defense mode. And the attackers, notably again, like I said, you can have 3 waifus tag team against 1 waifu, just to be like, this is a menace, this is a menace waifu, we gotta get her off the board. That was the energy. And let's say they amount to 13 damage, because they can, together. And they want to target a Malaparaquin. And they do. They break through her defense, and she is on 1 heart. Why? Because of that extra amount of food that you attach to her, that she like used as like a like just like endurance thing or residual, and then that's discarded. And now you have to note that she has 1 heart left. In that case, if you really like this card and it's doing like a lot of damage because there's other cards in the discard pile that she's utilizing at power level, then you would buy on your turn a food, and hopefully it's like +10 or +15 or whatever, and you can attach it and it heals her health, and that food card gets discarded immediately, and then she's back to full health. But that's the incentive of buying from the food banner, which is kind of interesting. I think that's it though. Overall, I would rate my game currently at its state like a 7.5 out of 10, like just unconsciously. I think I love the idea that you can't really build a deck initially. You have to build a deck in real time. And you're like, whoa, what does that mean? Because you're working with the I'm just gonna call them waifus, I'm sorry. You're working with the waifus, the OC waifus that you have or dealt with. So you have to think logically, like, who do I want to keep alive? And who is just fodder for the impending doom? Who has the most amount of affinity that I'm able to just put in defense mode, and I have to believe in RNG that they won't beat it? How much damage does one card do against another card? And also acknowledging the fact that you have to somewhat calculate. I don't think it's that much of a brain teaser of what does your enemy deal with. And I think that's, from what I saw from like Magic and Gathering games, I only say Magic and Gathering because I saw a Magic and Gathering game in my team's face at Japan when they were like playing it with like people on my team were like playing it, so I was just watching how they played it, and just the way they were very helpful. I'm like, okay, no, my card does this card does this card. It's like you gotta like remind. Yeah, the gameplay is you have to remind people what your card does. You have to say like out loud, like my card does this thing. So like having that type of thing in my card game makes sense as well, because I think the one unique thing you have to keep track of is the skill, because the skill can be a very sneaky thing if you can remember or memorize with it. And a lot of dating sims has that aspect as well. I'm weaving it of memorization. Like, oh, do you remember my birthday? And you're like, oh, I don't know. So the aspect of like, do you remember my skill though? If you don't, then it's like, it just glazes over. And I think just that impact of also forgetting, because I also forgot, is part of the gameplay, which is not a devaluing thing. It's just like, oh, you didn't utilize me correctly. What's going on? And you just played the base game, which I want to give that as an option. So I'm trying to make skills more of an optional thing, but it's a very powerful thing if you remember it. Like for a Malaparaclip, all right? If you forget that you're able to use the discard pile, you can still play with her main attack, but you just don't get the benefit of getting it, which I don't think personally is like a bad game design thing. I think in this logic of the game, it makes sense, because if it's sort of like in a dating thing where you're like, oh my gosh, like when is her birthday again? I don't remember. And then you just check back in the card. It's like, oh yeah, this card can do this thing. I'm gonna use it. And then you tell the player like, yes, I'm not lying. The card says it is because I got to know the card, like the dating sim. I think also another thing that I want to learn how to balance is that can there be dodges in my game? So if there's like a food thing related, like can food help you dodge? That's weird. Like when you're in attack phase, right? And then low battery, and they attack, but do you have an opportunity to dodge? Maybe like one card is able to dodge more than the other. I don't want the types to be overwhelming for people. I just want the types to just correlate to events that happen with things. So like domain cards, item cards, where you get a bonus if you have this type of type. That's what I just want to focus on more and keep that as simple as possible. So the ability to dodge an attack is not something yet implemented. It's that, and also the red flag cards. I think the red flag cards would be very beneficial to like if you have a 5-round stalemate of like just I can't do anything. Yeah, I can't do anything. Because you can draw insult to them that lowers their defenses, so that way you can attack them, which I think in this game is very beneficial. I also think about the idea of how mana is played. So when it comes to like event cards and domain cards, it could be like you lose certain amounts of mana and you gain amounts of mana. And then overall, the stat sheet. So like these, like how do I frame these better so they're more utilized better? I think they're just like a way to keep track mostly of mana. And I think that'd be great. And then secondly, to keep track of health. I didn't really have to keep track of health when it came to like attacking each other. It was more or less I kept track only because of the domain cards if they said so, or if there was actually a counter hit that led them down to like a few amount of health. And then trying to remember that was I think what's somewhat difficult is making sure that you're able to have a card that knows that it can heal other cards and heal itself as a result, or modify something, which I think that's also just general synergy of cards. So if you play the game long enough, you can strategize builds, but you have to make sure in the gacha element that you get that card. So it's like you get a something % chance if you can get this card. Like if you have this skin, if you have this weapon, just that incentive to like that gacha element that I enjoy, not the in-app purchases aspect of it, or like the feeling of like, oh, you have to be like constantly like on it. Of hey, it's a small part of the bigger thing that you're going for, which is you want to make sure that you have like a full set of like the specific character and just amplify their gameplay as a result. And I love the aspect of doing additional like stacking items and food onto a character, and then obviously the foods are perishables, so for every turn that you use it, it gets discarded as a result. Then items in general, or supports are a big thing. I need more support cards because they are big hitters if you can get them, and they're in the item banner itself. So I don't think I would want a separate banner for that. I think it makes sense that they would be an item overall just to support, which is kind of weird, but yeah. But no, I think what's also very interesting for my game is that I also draw on aspects of, let's say, the Pokemon TCG, the phone one, where maybe at the beginning, if you're playing with other people actually, is that you have the ability to flip the card over first, and you don't know what type of card you have initially, which I think that's a good standard to have, because if you just are able to draw like, okay, I have this relationship, this relationship, and this relationship of cards initially, and then the other player sees that, then it's sort of like, okay, yeah, great. But when you're like solid enough, like I'm gonna use this card and this card, this card, this card, this card, you go. But then it's like, okay, but maybe there is no incentive. But I want the incentive to be that you are able to play not all 3 waifu cards, because maybe there's something in the deck that you're able to get, because when you put down a waifu card, you cannot take them out of the field. They're like in the field and they want to do that. Maybe I want a card that's able to run away out of the field, and that's when it's like, okay, that gets interesting, because maybe this type of skilled card is sort of like they're afraid of fighting in general, like they don't want to, so you always have the option to opt out, getting out of the deck and going, and then if you're forced back into the deck, or every time that they're used they have to opt out, going out of the deck. But notably their items get dispersed and gone into the discard pile, which I think that is good tracking for a card game. If most of these mechanics also, if they were online, it would work smoothly. But since this is not an online card game, I have to work with my limitations and understanding both how much memory can a person remember doing stuff, and as well as the feeling when something happens. Those are like the 2 things that I feel like game design really has to, like, for you 101 to make a good solid game. But that's just me. I'm gonna go to my parents' place because I gotta check on their place, and then afterwards I'll probably do some work, because yesterday I did a lot of work doing my assignments because I'm backlogged on those from midterms, and then I have to continue doing that, and then do a little bit of deadlock stuff because I really love this card game. I want to play it where I go. See, that's also the incentive. I want to play this anywhere I go. And also, after I flesh this out, I think I've made it so that you are able to also play it single player. Single player is kind of complicated still, with the idea of like it took like 2 hours to just like figure out like, okay, what are the turn mechanics, but maybe you have like boss cards and they can be like against sue me if I'm wrong, Enigma Sepia. Getting into what that, okay, I only got into that because a lot of people on my character were like, oh, you're really good in like Echo Apocalypse. I'm like, oh, that's great, like making like characters and whatnot. It's like, have you heard like of Enigma Sepia? It's like, what? It's like, okay. And then I got into it. So that's why it's like sort of that battle tacting vibes, which I think that's the closest thing, honestly, to a gacha element in fighting, but not a card game, essentially. So I innately draw inspiration from Enigma Sepia, where there are existing IP characters, but they're just females, and then they attack villains. So Sepia is a villain. I wake up in the morning and it's sunny and it's just another bright day. Even though it doesn't show cause it's already raining, but I'm just gonna keep on going and I'm living on my own and I'm wondering if time will go this slow or fast, who knows, but I don't want to let it all go by. Wondering when I can say I'm doing just fine when I want to do everything right. And even though when life gets down and I can't realize that I was finally free when I believed in me. Too far too fast and I really can't slow down now because I gotta keep on going. Many times and never I really wanna know everything about the cultures and the people and the living situations, who knows. I gotta keep a track of these stats. I don't really know when it will last. Maybe I will find the true love I find with a match and a match. This is my trailer for my card game. What I find now as your gum can find up against the waifus of the time. And even when the time seems rough out there, you can rely on me if you dare. Gacha on the go. Done. Hello, I'm Nathaniel Roldan, and this is Devlog 3 for my card game Gacha on the Go. That's a temporary title as of now. I'm making it very succinct for threads since it's 3 minutes max, so bear with me in how fast I talk and speak. Essentially, what you see is the layout as of now of my game, denoted by sticky notes, and Discord piles at the back, and the banner system over here based off one of 3 of my pillars that I'm making for this game. The new and improved event cards are here. They're not new and improved, they are just new. Some new improvements though are there's 3 new character cards that I've added and 2 to 3 more domain cards I've added. What you see over here are the types of cards that you can have, which I have shown before. And, focus. And just a general affinity type status that I have used for my game to denote one of my 3 pillars, which I will say my pillars now is TCG, trading card game, like Pokemon, Magic and Gathering, etc., etc. And then the second is the gacha game genre, where over here would be the banner system, if you can focus. The banner system over here, and just the type of things and how it would affect the gameplay. And then third is the dating sim aspect of my game, which, don't get me wrong, I like a dating sim. So just the aspect of affinity, where it's the relationship between characters on the board and how you play them and the types of attachment that you can link to them to lower their affinity in a good way in this case, where the lower their base affinity is, the more affectionate or outgoing they are, as opposed to like one that is 20, that they're more stubborn and need to be more trustworthy. That is where the dice comes in. This is the random number generator of the whole game that is dictated by it. The whiteboard here is just for me to keep track of all the mana stats that I don't have to keep track of on note cards that I did for my second devlog. Notably, some improvements of my devlog are that this was how the character cards were like on a note card. And essentially, you had affinities, attack, health, the type of card they are, and their personal new skill, their name, and then some type text. Now, you have a smaller version of it, which I will get to in the next video. Essentially, what you have with, if it can focus, is that you have mana, the type, which is a max of 3, they can have at least 1, the skill, the type of card, their health, attack, affinity, the name, their general like subtitle, the character art, and 3 different phases. They are able to attack if it's facing the enemy. They are able to defend, so if an enemy tries to attack, they must roll a d20 to beat their base affinity, and prone, when you are unable to use a card and as well unable to use mana. And mana is essentially their soul or relationship with a card, or the type of cost that is generated to buy stuff by banners, via banners. So the cards that I have right now are as follows. Character, which costs 2 to promote buying more character cards. A food banner to heal character cards if they have a low, oh my gosh, the focus, low health. Item, item cards, which have a cost of 6 as well. And domain cards, which can change the effect of the gameplay. Notably, event cards are a thing, as I mentioned over here. What event cards do is that every time a character dies on the board, you must draw an event card. And when you draw an event card, it changes almost the general sense of the game, or the narrative of the game, or the relationship you have with the characters on the board, which is a very fun thing that I think just would not be too crazy or chaotic, but I have not tried it or implemented yet until now in this devlog. So I'm gonna start playing the game. I might, from practicing how to do this, I'm gonna probably just play 1 card for each thing. It might look weird, but promise me it will be great. Yes, it's gonna be great, Nathan. Oh, thank you. Notably, I am recording this on a tripod with this type of thing on my phone. So bear with me when it comes to anything that's blurry or whatnot. Also, event cards don't have things on them. So I'm going to pull the bottom card of each card so you can understand the representation of what I'm going to be pulling. This is the Oblivion arc. So whatever that means, oh, that's where the crisp. Whatever that means from my Google Doc that I have over here based on my computer, I will read it, I will place it down when a character dies, and then so on and so forth. Putting it. And then the character card, let me just pull the bottom one, is Iris, a living weapon made. Her affinity is 1, her attack is 7, her health is 19, she only has 1 mana, so mana is this. If I played her as a card, at the start of my turn, when I actually start my game, not after the first
turn, and you'll see what I mean, I can generate 1 mana, and that's how I'll keep track of it. And even at the end of my turn, if she's still alive and not in a prone state, I'm able to still get that 1 mana. Then she has a unique skill, which I need to summarize better first, is that she's able to take attachment cards from any characters. Notably in my game, that when you have an attachment card finalized for that character, they stick with that attachment because they really like whatever it is that you gave them item-wise. And the only way to resolve it is like via other types of characters that you have. Whether if it is also the ability to attack multiple characters or disperse that amount of damage to the characters, you're only limited to attacking one type of character in the base game. But if you have a character who says, oh, I am able to disperse that amount of damage to other cards, then you're able to do so. Even in some capacity, a defense state. When you're in the defense state, you need to roll a higher affinity rate than this card over here in defense mode. But in some cases, cards that are able to deal damage to cards that can pierce through defenses don't need to roll a dice. So on and so forth, it's that expansive. Then that's it for the character card. Then for the food banner. Here's the food. It's just a little context of it. This is just a little character and the health bonus and an image of it and just a personal note. Let's bring back Iris for an example. When you have Iris on the board, you're able to, at the end of your turn, attach it to this character. Let's say you had another character over here and their base damage is something very crazy. Something that is like 25. They do 25 base damage, which is crazy. Whoa, wow. But with this additional bonus of the +7 and her health at 19, she has 26 health. So when this attacks for 25, since she's in the active state, and if you defeated the defense state and made it an active state, then you are able to attack the character and you have to log 1 health for her as a character. And then after that turn, at the beginning of your turn, you have to discard the food banner over here, and then you have to want to probably buy food as a result. So if I bought food, let's say a donut, this gives me +7, so this will be 8. And then I immediately discard it. And then if I have enough mana as well, I can buy another one, which will be 8. So that puts me into 16, which is still not enough to the max, so on and so forth. But it costs mana. If I run out of mana, I gotta stick with my 16 health over here. And then I can put it in defense mode, whatever. But that's what the food items really do for you. Next, we have the items. Items have the same layout, and overall with food and item, I'm going to change the UI aspect of this. But essentially, they can affect the lower cost of affinity, the type of attacks, even your health, possibly your skills, mana, bonuses, etc. They are the key to having better characters as a result and synergy with each person. Put it underneath. And then you have the domain cards. This is the beach domain, like the beach episode. So they have a general lowered affinity when placed on the card here. Notably for domain cards overall, you are unable to take out a domain card unless said otherwise. You have to just keep playing domain cards in order to change the effect of the domain. So probably at the beginning, you don't really know what a domain card is. But later on in the game, when you run out of items and you run out of food from the banners here because they're all in discard, you might be looking at to be like, okay, what is a domain card? It changes the gameplay drastically, whether if it changes the overall affinity level, the attack level, the types of types that get affected by it, etc., etc. So in this case, to all, I said waifus here because it was like a waifu dating, so you know what I mean. It's at -10, so this is 0. But the attack is also -10, so she's at a 0. But the creative, inspiration, and tank types don't get affected by these. And since she is a tank type, then she won't get affected by the beach domain. And currently will have the same attack and affinity as a result. Maybe you want to replace with the domain and it changes drastically because of that. Now, all that bonus information would be also noted on your whiteboard over here. And then erased, so you have to double check what your cards are. And now you have a new domain, which is -3 affinity, so it's at 0. But existing magic and healings get plus additional attack. So that's good in my favor because she's also a magic type. So she has +3 attack, now her attack is 10. So on and so forth. And event cards are the same. They are placed on here. And whenever the event says, this one says the love arc. I don't know what that means, so I have to refer to my Google Doc what I really meant by that. But essentially, it would probably affect the types of characters more drastically than a domain card because the impact of getting a card damage on one's or a character card being discarded, then an event card is played to represent the big drastic change of what has happened. And overall, that is the main aim of the game. Put it underneath. And then you have the domain cards. Now let's see if I can fit a whole turn in 3 minutes. Okay, for starters, how do you start the game? Well, essentially, 2 other players have to roll a dice. Also, this can expand to even more players, but just for the focus, it is a 2-player game. You roll. And let's say that was lane A. They rolled a 3. Rolled a 15. They go first. So I'm just going to note B first, A second. And essentially, both players draw 3 character cards. One item card, and 2 food cards. And then you have the option to place down all 3 character cards or do a minimum of 1 character card. The whole overall aim of the game is to have your character cards the last one to stand on your side, and to wipe out the other characters on the other side of the card, of the layout. So for this sake, I'm just going to reveal, mainly put, at the start of your turn, you keep your cards face down, or the amount of cards you want to keep face down so that the person against you doesn't know what you're playing first. It gives that anonymity of it. It's like Pokemon TCG. And then you flip your cards, and then you're like, ooh, wow, that's very interesting. But for this sake, I'm just going to flip all the cards as so. Notably, cards don't have to just attack what's in front of them. Cards are able to attack also over here and over here. And notably, 3 cards are able to attack 1 card. 2 cards can attack 1 card, and another card can attack another card. It's very dynamic that way. And also, it's very balanced, honestly. I gotta admit, I'm pretty good at what I do. But the thing is, what makes it very balanced out and not overly OP is the aspect of the affinity rules. And I'll get to that in the next one. It's the next one. So what are affinity rules? Affinity rules are supposed to mimic my dating sim aspect of my game. If I've not said already, my 3 pillars of my game are these things. TCG, the trading card game aspect. The Gacha game aspect is my second one, where I have the banners as followed. And the third one is the dating sim aspect, the relationship aspect of the cards that you use in order to defeat the other one, try to survive, try to stop the event cards, the main cards depicted on it, etc., etc. So on this option over here still, I have the opportunity to either put a ring on the most affinity one, which is probably my goal because I typically find myself rolling lower, which is why I say you want a lower affinity, because that's a more general sense from the random number generator than trying to hit an actual higher number. So let's see, 6, 11, and 2. I probably want a ring over here, so it lowers her affinity stat to 2. So this is pretty good on my rolls. If I roll anything higher, that means I'm able to use any of these characters. Essentially, with the food items right here, I can do additional buff stats for each of these characters, or this character alone. Heck, I can put the food on this character so that it doesn't affect the characters over here to attack. So let me think. Maybe I want this and this. So her health is at 20, and her health over here is at 9. Notably, at the very start of your turn that I've not said, is that you gate mana from each card. So it is 3, 4, 7. So for B, the mana overall I get is 7. And I can use that storage mana to buy whatever additional cards I want. But I don't really need to. I can, but you can't really buy a domain card initially, or you can buy another character card since you don't have any cards in your hand, they're in play. And let me do it for this one, just really quick. I'm not going to think too much about my plays here because I just want to show off what I'm doing. Here's a new type of item card called a support card. Typically my OCs had like little animal creatures and whatnot, and I wanted to also add that. So this is part of one of my OC's characters, an eco-friendly robot. And their whole thing is that they can give bonuses to the types that they are associated with based off the OC and the drop of affinity, etc., for whatever it is that they are doing. I'm probably going to attach it to something that has a healing aspect because that would be beneficial on my half. I have none of them that are in the health effect. This one is a creative type, this one's a fighter type or melee type, and this one is a fighter type and a stealth type. So I just want to probably aim for the one that has the most affinity, which is Sage Von Baker. Notably, she's paired with a fighting type. Looking at the skills here, this is when you get to know your cards. Oh my gosh. So when paired with a fighter, then her affinity lowers to -10. Since Jay Conway is a fighter type, that means I'm able to drop this to 9. So do I really want to use this? Maybe I want to put it over here with Jay Conway to have a support bot. Then I have sandwiches and a poke bowl. Notably, I searched for these types of foods based off of looking up what is women's favorite types of foods. Again, I was on the framework of like, it's a god dating sim game. I don't know. I'm too generic. Think of the men. Okay. Then the health would be probably over here. Maybe I want the health over here so she has 20 health because currently she has 13 health over here. It's very blurry. I am sorry. And then probably over here, so it would be 15 plus 8 is 23. I'm sorry if I butcher my numbers on these. I'm doing this in my head. But essentially, that is the end of this turn as well. So I stopped because I went over here. So after the end of my turn, I get an additional 7, so that means I have 14. So I'm probably going to attach. So let's start the initiative round. So the point is that you get to roll for your affinity. I got 19. So her affinity is 6, 11, 2. that's okay. So that means you can use any of the 3 cards. If it was 20, 20, 20, I'm unable to do it unless I have a card that associates with a lowered affinity. So who do I want to see in attack? Well, notably, all 3 of them are in defense, so I have to roll again to make sure that I'm able to defeat their defense with their base affinity. I got a nat 1. That sucks. So that means affinity is 11, affinity is 19, affinity is 17, so I can't attack any of them. So it's pretty much just a grace period at this point to be like, okay, what do they have? What do I want to do? And probably in the future, again, for my devlogs, I will probably have like red flag cards that you're able to buy from the banner in order to reduce this impact of, hey, there's like a weird stalemate that's going on because I rolled bad. So I can able to use my mana as well to buy things and utilize that. So with that in mind, I'm like, okay, I can't really attack anyone. Do I want to buy anything from the gacha store? Maybe I want to buy an item card. So for this case, I buy an item card and I am reduced to 8 mana. Then I see what the card is. It is a Chain Gauntlet, which if there's someone with agility, they get a bonus of 3, so it would be plus 3 attack. But for base overall, it is just 1 attack. I don't have anyone with agility, but if I want to raise someone's attack, I want to probably focus on someone who has a lower base attack, which is Dakota. So I will probably attach it to her over here. And then I would probably end my turn by deciding if I want to make some of them in defense mode. Defense mode, again, is worthy enough because if they roll a nat 1 on them, then they probably won't get attacked. You always have more of the opportunity attacks. Let's say for this card was in active mode, then even if you fail, you don't have to roll a defense dice attack for this card. You can just immediately attack this active card. So that's why it's very prevalent to have cards in defense mode, because you have that chance of like, okay, you won't get attacked. At the beginning of your turn as well over here, I have the opportunity to make them in defense mode when I first reveal them, which I wasn't clear about that at the beginning. So again, some of this tutorialization is on the fly go. That's if they have the opportunity to attack, then so on and so forth. Let me actually restart that, actually. Nah, I won't. What? I'm crazy. No, but essentially, let's imagine I didn't do this. And then I'm right here. So I put my cards down, and then I get the choice to attack. But before I attack, the second player, once they reveal just the player cards themselves, have the opportunity to pick whichever cards they want to be in defense mode. So let's imagine I've not done this yet as well. And also pick out the type of card they want to attach. Then it is the first player's turn, whoever rolled the highest, to play their cards. So notably, Team A has also the ability to gain their respective points. So it'd be 3, 4, 7, 14. And then this would also be 14, but let's start the initiative round. Oh my gosh. And with that out of the way, your end turns, ends, and then you get the bonus of 3, 6, 7. So that would be 15. So race, you get 15 mana now in your total storage. So now it's the beginning of this card's turn. You can get 3, 5, 7. So plus 4 is 21. And notably, if a card is, let's say, prone, you are unable to obtain that mana. So then I get the choice of, okay, having to roll my dice. It's not a choice, it's like you have to actually do that. So when you get mana, you roll your dice, 18, check your affinities. In this case, we got 19 affinity. That means I can't use Sage Von Baker. She decides she doesn't want to fight this round. But I'm able to put these in attack mode. It's a good standard practice just to make these in attack mode so I know, even if you're like in defense mode in some cases, but the idea that you can't use this card, I'll probably have some form of tokens to represent, hey, you're unable to use this card, which is I think a valid thing I might do. So do I have tokens? Wait. I don't have tokens, but I can probably use, oh, I guess I do. With that out of the way, you're in turn, use a Pokemon coin, not sponsored. But I'm like, oh, you can't use that card. Okay, well, then I have to focus on these cards. So what do I want? I'll probably want to buy a food. Notably with the foods, since they're perishable, they go to the discard pile on your start of your turn as well, if you have any food attached. Items don't get it, or supports don't get detached from your character, unless said otherwise in some cases of the cards that's being said. It's also good to know at this point, like, hey, what are my skills that each of my cards do? For this card is that it says all drink stats double when attached to her. This card said, again, when paired by a fighter, their affinity goes to -10. And then over here is that when attacked, she strikes back the opponent and cannot dodge. She's able to counter attack, which is kind of scary in some capacity. But overall, when in a prone state, you are unable to use said skills from that character, so they are reduced. But in a defense state that they're unable to be like, I'm not gonna really use you, whatever, you're still able to use their skill. So in that case, their combined attacks are 6 and 7, so that's 13. But first, I have to, I'm going to decide not to buy anything from this shop. So I'm going to roll. I got an 11. Affinity is 2, affinity is 11, affinity is 6. I'm able to attack all of these cards, so they have to be faced that way. And again, at any point, banners can be actually accessed. So you're like, okay, maybe I want to throw in this card, or maybe I want to throw in this card. You just have to keep in mind the impact that each card has on each character. And let's go over what these skills are. Can draw a free card at the start of your turn. See, I forgot to do that, but that's okay, that's fine. But now you know, so you just be able to show them like, hey, my card got this, can do this, so on and so forth. Skills that are max with both characters is able to do a +2 attack. If it's just with one character, they can produce +3 mana, and if it is just solo, then +5 mana. And this is one of the types of cards that's is better on play alone or with a duo and not max. Total attack damage of 13. Her health here is 10, 20, and 12. I can either attack Zoe Naomi and just get her out of the game, or Amala Paraquin to get her out of the game. But notably, they have bonus effect health. This is +8, so it's 20, and then this is +9, which is that. Maybe I want to try to get a better attack damage, so might as well probably get an item card. So I'm gonna get it, and then -6, which, yes, 15. We love math. And then what is the card? It's a health card, which, that sucks. So it's like, oh damn, my RNG, look, I have the rarity. So it's better suited with a healer type. I don't really have a healer type, but if I want to get better health, I might as well just attach it to here. So that didn't help me. Maybe I want to try to go again, get my item card. See, and this is why, this is the gacha aspect. You're like, okay, maybe I want to go again. So then you get to 9. And then I got, a +1 attack. And if it's a creative person, they get a bonus. Do I have anyone creative? Yes, I do. This is Natalia Lobov, who is very creative. So then I can attach it to her. So her base attack is +3 now because of the bonus. And now it's 10 for a base attack. So she can attack someone with 10 and then +6. So, never mind. I was like, I can get a bonus attack? No, but it has to be that type. So I only have the lowered affinity, so 13, which is there. So what can I do, actually? So it's 6, 10, so 16. So someone with 16 health. Do I want to buy again? Let's do it for the content. Let's do it for the content. Content, I get a blaster, which is +3 attack, and if someone has a range type, then I'm able to use it. Notably, my mana went to 3. So maybe I want, since I don't really have much, I guess I can just probably put my attack here, since she doesn't do anything, so she doesn't get a gift. That's the purpose of life. So 19, so I have a total of 19 damage, and I can't really buy from the store unless I want another character card. Notably, if you buy a character card, let's say for this sake, I do so, and it's like, oh my gosh, I got, who is this? Ariel Santos, which is a really good card, to me at least. Then I'm unable to actually place a card down unless it is said that the type of skill that they have, you're able to put them back in your hand and swap, or event cards or domain cards that say otherwise. Like Pokemon TCG. So in that case, it's 19. I can actually eliminate Zoe Naomi, and that is probably a good goal. So my whole goal is that I attack with this, and she's gone. The food goes into discard, and the character goes into discard as well. That being said, it's the end of my turn. I get to choose if I want to put them in defense, yes, or if I want to put any food or anything in my hands to be in there. And I get 2, 4, 7. So I get my total amount to be 10. And I believe that is a full round in general and how things would go back and forth, so on and so forth. So let's say, for example, since now I don't have this, I'm gonna play an event and domain card for this case. You'll see that in the next video. So in this case, when you have it's raining outside, I'm sorry. At the beginning of your turn, you get 4 mana, so it would be 19. And let's say I need, obviously, a character card, so I'll get that. So that'll put me to 17. And then I have Haley, who is a hermit, and her skill is when in defense mode, even if unable to do anything, she can gain +1 affinity, attack, and health over time. So this is just something that if she be sleeping, she be grinding. On the games. Okay, and her type is a defense, agility, affinity is 6, attack is 4, health is 15 though, because she's a sleeper. And the mana is 2. So when you play a card, you don't have to choose to play her. Maybe you want a different type of character, and again, that's into a gacha, but let's say I want to play her. So she stays in the active state. And then I can draw a domain card if I want initially or not. Let's say I don't. So right off the bat, you can't decide once you immediately have things like, oh, I want defense mode. You have to roll your affinity dice. She doesn't count towards your start of your mana when you draw a card and put them in. That's why at the initial start of the turn, you have to get your mana and then you can do whatever you want. So let's roll. 11. Affinity is 6, 11, 2. You can play them all. That's great. So I will probably just continue on to get like my domain, and that would be 7. And notably, I forgot to do one thing as well. At the start of the turn, there's an event card that happens. So this is playing out of defense, so I'm going to put Revival Arc here for now, which actually is good. Wow, I didn't expect to pull up the Revival Arc. What I know from the Revival Arc is that you're able to bring back a character. So let's say, as it says, so this card can be in your hand or in play. So I'll just pretend I have this card in my hand in that capacity, but that's what the Revival Arc does. And it's pretty much a discarded event card now, but it's just here just to represent, okay, whatever. Let's continue on the game. So let's say I put my domain in, is the cafe domain. In the cafe domain, I was almost gonna die, is that you're able to have +2 health to all your characters in your domain, and note that any cards in defense you're able to get at the start of your turn. So this card doesn't really activate, and that's why it's like it depends on until like your next turn, so it doesn't start now. So this just exists. But what does affect is that you have +2. So this would be your bonus for all cards that exist on the board. So you would note that each one, this is weird, sorry. Have a bonus of +2 to their thing. I continue. So I only have one card in my hand, which is this card, so I can keep still. Essentially, I can buy an item card or a food card. Probably want to buy an item card. Takes me to 1. That's perfect, I picked the Revival card. And then I have a Smoke Pipe, which is +1 attack, but if you're a magic person, it gets a bonus, so it would be 2. Do I have any magic people? Yes, I have 2 magic people, Amala Paraquin and Dakota. Maybe I want to put in Amala Paraquin so she has an attack of 10 now. Because for this case, yeah, no, the bonus not even for agility is kind of crazy. But in the future reference with these type of cards, I want them to be able to like stack here so the information is at the bottom on each one, and it's much cleaner than actually like do a full card spread. I just want to note that to myself. Okay. Then I have to roll now to see if I can penetrate through the defenses. I have 13. So this is 11. I flipped this wrong. 19 and 17. I'm able to attack Natalia, and she has 16. And she doesn't have any extra bonus on food, so her health is still the same. So I can attack for a bonus of 10 plus 1, 7, 17, 21. See, when you have a group like this, you're like 21 damage on this specific person. That's crazy. Sorry, the recording was almost gonna die. Is that you're able to have +2. So with that out of the way, she is gone. No. Item card discarded. Then, what would actually happen is that this will happen for an event card, but I think I want it to happen after the fact of the things going on. So let's say, okay, is that all you want to do on your turn? If you don't have anything else in your mana, then you can turn all these that you're able to do for in defense mode, and then get your mana. So it'd be like 2, 3, 6, so that would be 7. And then at the end of that turn, an event card is played. And it is the Amnesia Arc. Ah! So what is the Amnesia Arc? I gotta look it up. Amnesia Arc is this. Memories have faded mysteriously. If you fail to roll affinity rolls, then the waifus that you can't appease leave the board. Also, food item support leaves as well. So what I mean by this is what happens. So after this card effects, that means for each card that you decide to choose, you have to get a higher affinity than the card already. You cannot use any of these banners to help facilitate it. You just have to go and see what happens. So 9. Yep, because her affinity is 6, you're good. Okay, next one. 7. Nope, she's gone forever in the abyss. No. And then I'm betting from just this gameplay initially, you don't draw another event card, because I think it's kind of weird if it keeps stacking over and over. So I think just for every end of the turn, like general turn, then you draw an event card. 10, you're good. Now for this one. 14, 19, she gone. She got amnesia, bro. 2, 17, amnesia, bro. Gone with the wind. Well, wait. Does she have any bonus of affinity? Dropped 4, 13. Yeah, she gone. And then supports, item. And that means the board is clear, and then you still have these cards. That means you won. Da, 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 da. Without these cards, I can imagine, and if not, I did do a gameplay of this, your game can expand longer. So these event cards are supposed to be very cruel. So it's like, I hate the Amnesia arc. The Amnesia arc nerfed me, my guy. I can't do it. But yeah, in some cases, some character cards are able to negate event cards in some kinds, or negate domain cards. So again, it depends on like what type you draw, etc., etc. Can really benefit you in some capacity. But yeah, so the winning cards are Hermit Haley. She didn't forget you. She just was like, I'm ready to do it when you're ready, when you are. And then obviously the best, Amala Peregrine, which is great. That's why in some cases it's better off to have someone who has a lower affinity, or more easygoing, or like, oh yeah, okay, let's get to know each other more again, than someone who has higher affinity as a result. That is my game. In some capacity, if I didn't choose to pick a card that goes on my lane, I'm able to then, on my next turn, draw a card and place it on the floor, if it is my turn the next time. If it's not, then I immediately lose in that capacity. Also, this is another winning card, Zoe Naomi, I guess. That's just me. That is Devlog 3 out of the way. Hopefully all of these videos make sense. Yeah.
This is an iced chai tea latte. And this is pretty much what I got. Love it. Get your money back. It is not 3:14. It is 6:42. So yes, this is night. And yes, I'm getting food at night. This is my first time ever actually getting like some form of fast food and then like at night, because I just want to get something in my system. Yeah, I did Cardgame because Cardgame I love. Did some assignments and then going into this. What would I rank today? I would rank today a B. A solid, just generic B. It's not like a high B. Also, I'm watching this Ampo video. I love his style right now, where he is trying to do like more, not social experiment, but like anyone can do it. Make it onto like any like social platform. Not in a negative sense, but just like in a more communal sense, like go outside and do stuff and etc, etc. And he has a live studio audience this time, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, I think the one thing I've learned today is that there will be something that pulls you to do something in your day, in your life, either good or bad. Know when to act on it and to do it. And sometimes you really have to like act against it to feel like that you can own it and do something about it. No matter the worry you have, that the next day you're gonna feel like you're gonna worry more, which is honestly a weird thing. But then you're like, what are you saying? I don't know. That's just me. Hoping that this week I lock in more.